Hi.
Red wine sugar.
The year 2000 gave us some absolute bangers. We got American Psycho, Final Destination, Gladiator, Requiem for a Dream, Castaway, Emperor's New Groove, Meet the Parents, and Popee the Performer. Popee the Performer is a psychedelic children's anime created by the fantastic Ryuji Masuda. It aired on the Japanese TV channel Kid Station between the years 2000 and 2003. And just like Hannibal NBC, it only had 3 seasons. The episodes are short, like really short, about 4 minutes in length at most. So if you were to binge the entire series from start to finish, that means all 3 seasons, it would take you about 2 hours and 40 minutes. There's a HD compilation of every episode on YouTube, which I'll link in the description down below. There's no actual dialogue in the show, well, save for one line, but we'll get back to that later, probably, unless I forget. I didn't forget. Instead, the anime plays more like a silent film. There's super basic sound effects, and they use the same couple of music tracks throughout the entire thing. It feels cheap because, I mean, it was. Each episode only had a measly budget of about 100,000 yen, which is not a lot of money. Apparently, due to how low the budget was, the project in itself was pretty much just an experiment. I guess in the end, they really wanted to see just how far they could stretch their creative muscles. And honestly, they pulled it off. The 3D animation was done by Shohei Murai and Takayuki Ito. I always thought Popee kind of looked like Woody from Toy Story, but more specifically this really creepy figure of Woody that I actually own and have donated to my brother. I'm not sure where this faceplate is, otherwise I would show you it in person right now, but this is what I think Popee looks like. Little sippy sip. I'll admit, the show is really ugly, but as long as you're able to look past that and focus on just how fantastic the show is despite its like major financial restraints, I think you'll come out of it with a very special experience. I rewatched every episode again just to prepare for this video, which wasn't actually a chore at all. I first watched the show in its entirety maybe about 10 years ago at this point, so I'd forgotten a lot of stuff. Sometimes I'm glad my memory is a little bit fucked because it means I get to experience it like this again. If I were to talk about every single episode, this video would be about 10 hours long. And do I look like Quentin Review? I think my iPad would melt if I tried to edit a video any longer than 30 minutes. So instead I've chosen to talk about my personal favourite episodes from each of the 3 seasons. Again, seeing as these episodes are pretty short, that's way more of an obtainable goal for me. Plus, I get to talk about episodes that I personally like, not necessarily the episodes that everybody else likes. This is not based on any IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes ranking. All of the opinions in this is just me. This is just what I saw in the show, what I personally enjoyed, and what I would say is the best of the season that it's from. If you do like this video, then I'll happily talk about Popee again. Maybe I'll do a tier list about each episode and just talk about each episode for about 2 minutes at most. Fun note, but I wanted to make it a thing where each episode my microphone is being held by something relevant to the episode. Last episode I had Pingu holding the microphone, which was really cute. It's too bad that most Popee merch is I also considered getting a Labubu because those little things have bunny ears and a creepy smile, but I'm not made of money and I absolutely refuse to give those scalpers a fucking cent. I can't afford that. Instead, have another rabbit. This thing is Esther the bunny. I think it's pronounced Esther. Esther.
Bruh.
I know that's an English name, but it's Esther. It's a very old-fashioned name. She's designed by Esther Kim and is this very popular line collaboration thingy. She has similar colours to Popee, you know, with the blue and the pink and the red, so it's the best that you're gonna get for now. I also have a little SpongeBob plush right there that is going to be used for my upcoming video about SpongeBob. Before we get into discussing my personal favourites, I think we need a brief introduction to the cast. I'll only talk about the 3 main characters. The main character is called Popee, spelled P-O-P-E-E. He is a 17-year-old boy working as an apprentice clown at the Wolf Circus. He's got blonde hair that he keeps in little pigtails under his rabbit hat and big blue eyes. He wears this weird rabbit tiger hybrid costume that's pink and red striped. He also carries around this cute blue satchel. He reminds me of that one kid from Gummo. Popee is not a typical protagonist, as he works more like an antagonist. He has a seriously short temper and quite often flies into dangerous, jealous rages that end with either him or his friends or everyone dead. He is incredibly self-centered. His creator Ryuji Masuda described him as a fast-paced runaway child who would do anything to protect himself. He's as simple as a child, and to say he's innocent is an understatement. He has also died 28 times throughout the entire series. Kedamono is a purple wolf. He's also Popee's assistant at the Wolf Circus. He's also usually the main victim when it comes to Popee's violent outbursts. Kedamono wears these cute orange boxer briefs with a yellow star pattern on them. More notably, he wears these expressive white masks that change and fall off when his emotions change. The first and only time his true face is revealed is when another character catches a cheeky glimpse. The other character is actually a little frog, and upon seeing this wolf's face, he says Kedamono's face looks like his mother's. We don't actually get to see Kedamono's face as the audience, and honestly I like that better. The gimmick with the masks is a very clever idea, and some of his masks made me burst out laughing when I was rewatching this. For anyone who cares about my theory on what's behind his mask, I'm quite boring. I think he's just a normal wolf. I think he's just hiding his face because he's worried about frightening people, because wolves, I mean, I think they're cute, but they can also be scary. And behind that mask, he has got a big mouth full of very, very sharp teeth. So maybe he's self-conscious. I don't know. Despite being a wolf, I would consider Kedamono to be the most caring character in the show. He cares for Popee a lot, almost to a fault. He ends up putting up with most of the abuse. However, give him a chicken leg and he will revert right back to puppy dog mode. At least for a little while. Oh, and Kedamono also has this show that he is borderline obsessed with. The show is great because it is just these two funky UFO girls sort of bopping up and down. Kedamono has also died 10 times throughout the entire run of the show. He has also worn approximately 220 different masks. Masuda has said that he is about 25 in human years. The final character that I'm going to briefly introduce is Popee. Popee's apparent father. Although the gender marker on the Popee the Performer wiki is labelled as male ? I think this is because a lot of people in the fandom see Popee as intersex. This is because Wakako Masuda retweeted fan art of him waving a intersex pride flag, which could mean nothing. Regardless, I do absolutely headcanon Popee as genderqueer. I will stick to he, him pronouns throughout this video. Popee is so fun. He's a senior clown and he is also the leader of the Wolf Circus. We don't know how old he is, but he's probably middle-aged. He's a very muscular man who wears this incredibly cute orange and yellow skin tight harlequin suit. He also has this sun-shaped headpiece and a absolutely killer mustache. Unlike Popee, Popee is shown to be a lot less aggressive and prone to jealousy. He's surprisingly chill, and his dedication lies with helping Popee to be the best clown he can be. Popee also shows a really great dedication and love for his elephant car named Paola, and he is not happy when she is defaced. When asked about Popee, Wakako Masuda referenced Sigmund Freud's personality theory, and I think if that doesn't tell you what you need to know about him, I don't know what else to tell you. Popee has also died 11 times throughout this show. Quick note before we get into talking about my pick from season 1, but I had a genuine shower thought earlier today. Clowns are heavily associated with horror in the West. I'm pretty sure that is due to Stephen King's It and the cultural bomb that was when that came out. Japanese children don't seem to have the same reaction to clowns as Western children. That being said, I personally don't find clowns to be scary at all. My favourite character from Psychoville was Mr. Jelly, a clown that has a red raw stump. Even though he's built to look disgusting, he's a really fun character. I could sit here and name every single horror clown ever, but this video would be really long, and I'm pretty sure Watch Mojo has some sort of top 10 horror clowns of all time video that you can watch instead. I'm only really bringing this up because none of the characters are dressed in what I would consider to be clown attire. At least when I close my eyes and think of a clown, I think of a guy in makeup with a red nose, maybe wearing a wig with some red lips. And I know that both Popee and Popee are clowns. They categorize themselves as clowns like in the intro of the show. Even though the introduction is mostly gibberish, they do refer to Popee as Popee the Clown, so I don't know. What does this have to do with anything? Nothing. I just wanted to talk about it because even though the show has its creepy moments, I don't think it's meant to be creepy. And depending, I guess, on where you grow up culturally and how you view clowns, you'll have a very different reaction to this, I think. Anyway, right. Episode 1, Season 1 pick. Gunman. So it turned out to be really difficult to pick my favourite from Season 1 because there are a lot of really good episodes in Season 1. You might have thought that I'd have picked Swallow, but even though I would consider that to be the most disturbing episode of Popee the Performer, it's not my favourite, not by a long shot. Since there are a lot of good and iconic episodes from Season 1, I made my decision based solely on how hard I laughed. After all, it is a slapstick comedy, so I'd like to imagine that the best episodes that the show can air are episodes that can make me laugh the hardest. All that being said, upon rewatch I realised that Gunman was my favourite episode from Season 1. The episode opens at dusk. All is quiet in the wolf circus, apart from the sounds of the howling winds. Popee lay fucking dead as Kedamono sits at the table contemplating life. He looks to the corpse and we get a quick flashback to the events that we haven't seen yet. A game of tennis, perhaps? We don't know. The flashback cuts back to now and Kedamono is in despair. Or maybe not. I have no idea what emotion he's trying to portray here. I think it's madness, don't know. Now we're back to daytime, we're back to the past, which is, I guess, beginning of the episode, the true beginning of the episode. We can safely assume that we've gone back in time to see just how the past events have unfolded. For some reason, Popee has a gun. Why does he have a gun? Don't give him a gun. He's practicing shooting some green bottles. Here he's just playing with a deadly weapon. Kedamono isn't nearly as good as Popee is, as he ends up getting brained by one of the bottles. His trigger finger goes off and he ends up shooting Popee's ear off. She knows again. I have allergies, by the way. Popee is pissed. So pissed, he decides to show Kedamono exactly what he deserves for doing that. I do love this dumpy little thing. Popee misses and the bullet begins to ricochet off everything. It makes its way towards Popee and Kedamono as they alternate between using each other as human shields. And then... Holy shit. Oh my god. How did they come up with this? I love it. It's absurd and it's disgusting. The bullet travels directly through Kedamono's digestive system, coming out of his literal asshole before flying into Popee's mouth as it makes the exact same journey. Popee's reaction is painfully realistic, just pure and utter mortification. The way the entire thing replays in his mind as he shakes his head in pure horror is amazing. Kedamono turns around to see Popee dry heaving before he jump scares the shit out of him, and then Kedamono makes the right call by running away fast. Popee has a gun, again, probably the same one, and this time he's shooting at the real Kedamono. His gun turns into a Tommy gun and he sprays in Kedamono's general direction. One of the bullets ends up ricocheting into a straight up deadly tennis match. Kedamono uses a red frying pan as Popee's gun turns into a tennis racket. The two start a game of tennis where the bullet is the tennis ball. It starts off serious, all the anger and malice just melts away. Then Popee bumps into a caravan, the bullet ends up going right between his eyes and he fucking dies. The end. That's how the episode ends completely. It just cuts to black. It reminds me of the final episode of The Sopranos where it just cuts to black at the very end with just nothing. Just nothing. The end. The episode is great. It has everything that I love about Popee the Performer in one episode. It's absurd, it's violent, the comedic timing is great. I love how it's formatted, where you're shown the ending result at the beginning and then the episode up until the very end is just about how did we get here. Kedamono's reaction makes a lot more sense now, huh? Next season, next episode. This one was really hard to pick. Really hard to pick. I nearly picked Poison, but when I ended up revisiting every episode and I rewatched this one, I immediately knew I had to talk about it. Season 2, Ghost. This might actually just be my favourite episode of the entire series as a whole. If I were to make a tier list, it would look like this.
Hamburger.
At least in my opinion. Which is, again, this entire video is just purely based on my opinion. Ghost starts off with Popee, Kedamono and Pappy playing a game of rock, paper, scissors. Or Janken, if you're a weeb, which basically is the exact same thing as rock, paper, scissors. It's just the Japanese name for it. I'm being very pretentious right now. Popee loses whatever they've wagered. He is not happy. We cut to him looking incredibly bemused, stuffed into a barrel like one of those pop-up pirate games. Speak of the devil, that's the trick the guys are practicing. Pappy is obviously amazing as he performs the trick flawlessly, leaving Popee unharmed despite the absolute hilarious amounts of swords and knives going into the barrel. The two do a cute little victory dance while Kedamono watches on in awe, applauding the trick. Then Pappy throws a sword to Kedamono. It's his turn. So Kedamono just instantly kills Popee. This is the hardest I laughed throughout the entire rewatch. It's so good. Kedamono's immediate reaction of mortification is brilliant. So Popee is fucking dead. Again! I think he dies in every episode I talk about, actually. The camera pans and we see Pappy frantically burying a shallow grave. The complete lack of any attempt to resuscitate his son is great. It's really funny. He literally does not give a fuck. We have a short time skip to the evening where an eerie red moon sits in the sky. We see Poppy's grave, which, again, absolutely hilarious. They didn't even try. The visual is so great. I love it. Kedamono looks sad until he turns his TV on. His favourite show, which looks like something Gleb from Smiling Friends would be watching on his iPad, is on. Kedamono seems to immediately forget about being sad. Then, the real reason as to why I absolutely adore this episode begins. Kedamono notices the barrel opening and closing with nobody around. Ooh, spooky. He turns to the TV and it starts going all Scary Movie 3 on his ass. This parody of The Ring is so good. It's so good. I have no idea how many small Japanese children watching this saw this and went catatonic like I did with Pingu and the Walrus. I would have not been happy watching this as a kid. It would have fucked me up. Eventually, Poppy's ghost materializes behind Kedamono. He sticks his tongue out all freaky and then drags him away. Pappy watches on in fear as Popee shoves Kedamono into the barrel like a bully shoving a kid into a locker, just before Popee can enact his revenge. Why didn't anyone try doing this before they buried him? In fact, Pappy probably knew he would be able to resuscitate him if he tried. He just couldn't be bothered. That's hilarious. I love Pappy. He is Father of the Year. I love him. Popee is back to life. Yippee! Except he's very, very pissed. Mostly because he didn't get to enact his revenge on Kedamono for initially killing him. Or maybe it's because he ended up having mouth-to-mouth CPR with Pappy, which, I mean, Popee has shown to absolutely hate being touched in the past, so the idea of having mouth-to-mouth CPR, despite the fact it saved his life, I mean, his reaction makes sense for his character. We end up with Popee chasing Pappy and Kedamono into a corner, and Pappy ends up with an absolutely brilliant idea. He snaps Kedamono's neck and then his own. Why? Because Popee can't hurt them if they're already dead. I love this show. It's absurd. We end the episode with Pappy and Kedamono watching The Martian Show as Popee tries to furiously slash at their backwards heads, not making any contact because, again, they're already dead. They're ghosts. You can't hurt them. So the moral of the story is yourself. That was a joke. 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 Joke. Okay. Mirror. Okay, I'm sorry. My final pick for season 3 is actually a massive fandom favourite, and for good reason, because it's a great episode. The episode starts with Kedamono showing off his juggling skills. Popee obviously needs to one-up him and starts juggling with knives instead. He buggers up and ends up immediately impaling his foot with one of the knives, clearly in a lot of pain as he begs for Kedamono to either help him or not tell anyone. I don't really know what he's trying to say here. Clearly, Kedamono can't get away with seeing Popee muck up. Popee decides to try and murder him with bombs. We get a short chase scene before Popee ends up blowing himself up, sending him flying into this magic mirror. He falls into another dimension where everything looks normal up until he notices a familiar looking character running away from what looks to be a pink Kedamono. These characters are Epop and Onomadek. I'm pretty sure these are just the fan names given to them by the fandom, considering they are just their names back to front. The fandom absolutely loves these characters, and for good reason. They're pretty much exactly what you get if you swapped the personalities between Kedamono and Popee. So in this universe, Kedamono is the violent instigator and Popee is the victim. It's pretty much the exact scenario that Popee has fallen from that's going on in the mirror, if that makes any sense. Popee bumps into Epop, swapping himself out as he starts an intense stare down with Onomadek. Even Popee is a little bit annoyed by this new character. We cut to Popee and Kedamono investigating the mirror in the original universe. Popee ends up shoving his entire head into the mirror, only to realise he's royally boned because he ends up completely stuck. In the mirror world, we can see Popee and Onomadek laughing at his disembodied head floating around, and they end up kind of forming this really weird bond where they just throw bombs at Popee's head and taunt him. This cuts to a really funny scene where in the original universe we have Popee running around like a headless chicken and Kedamono running away confused as to what's happening, and then in the mirror dimension we see that he's being chased and he's having bombs thrown at him. This is a great scene. I love it. It's really funny. Eventually Popee ends up tripping and the mirror world is broken. It is no more. And in a existential way, Popee and everyone in the mirror dimension is now dead. We finally cut back to Kedamono sweeping up the mirror shards as Popee convulses on the floor. It's obvious why this episode is a fan favourite, I think, and unfortunately I ended up yielding to the popular opinion on this one. But this episode is just really, really good. The only thing that would have made it an S tier is if we could have seen EPAP. Whoa, what a journey, huh? Oh, and what a weird show. I'll admit, upon rewatch, it did take me a little while to get used to how the entire thing looked and sounded again. Although it's not stop motion animated, there were a lot of seriously uncanny overlaps with that medium that made me bristle up just a little bit. Though after a few episodes, you kind of just stop noticing and start enjoying it for what it is. The show is great. Despite its simplicity and short run times, each episode feels distinct and dense with stories and jokes. There are some jokes that almost feel too modern, like the joke wouldn't be amiss in something made this year. In a way, I guess that makes the show timeless. I think a lot of Zoomers would get a kick out of this. The other thing that I do love about this show is that you don't need to know any Japanese to understand it. The only time in the entire show where I think an understanding of Japanese is required is in the final episode where the frog says Kedamono face looks like his mam's, which all things considered is a pretty pointless statement to make considering we don't know what Kedamono's mam's face looks like anyway. In that instance, I don't think it's even important to understand what's being said because you don't really take anything different from it, you know? I'm wibbling a bit, sorry. Basically, I'm saying that the show can be enjoyed by pretty much anyone. Maybe that's why it has such a prominent fandom outside of Japan. Oh god, that was a fun ride, huh? God, I'm really glad I got to revisit this little gem again. I wonder what the official Twitter is up to these days. I mean, okay, hold on. Let's see. Wait, what?